Jai Jagannath. Okay. So the question is, we hear in many texts and in many talks that food, if somebody is preparing, he passes on his consciousness to food, like whenever he is cooking. So how to understand this? Because many times we are we don't want, but we don't have any option but to eat food outside. So
Yeah.
that is one part, and the other part, does it really affect if somebody is cooking with a bad consciousness? How will it pass? Because if somebody who is already at who's practicing bhakti or any other spiritual path, he may be doing his sadhana, and he may be at a certain level where these things should not impact, I think. So whether it really affects, or is there, if it affects, how to counter it in case if you are stuck and you don't have any option but to eat outside?
This is a very excellent question. I like it very much. And in fact, it is explained very clearly. The answer is very, very precise, very direct, also from the Shastra. The example is made of the fire. We know that Krishna is talking about the Jataragni, the fire in the stomach, fire in the belly. Now, the fire can have different degrees of power, and depending on how powerful the fire is, it can burn things, better or not so well. So it is very much in the consciousness of the person who is eating. Because a fire that is powerful enough will even burn water, will even burn, things that normally would not be able to burn. In fact, if the fire is extremely hot, the water will be decomposed in a sense into oxygen and hydrogen, which are extremely flammable. So the comparison is, when your consciousness is very strong, you can actually eat anything.
Mhm.
Because the fire, the yagya kunda, the fire of sacrifice in your stomach, will be so powerful that anything will be burned, will be used. Like if you can even throw garbage into it, and still the fire will purify and burn everything. This is why we find examples in the Puranas, especially Puranas and Itihasas, of great rishis, great yogis, who also ate impure things. But it is clearly explained that because the fire of their consciousness was so strong, they could actually consume anything. You know the story of, I think it was Agastya that ate Vatapi. You know the story of Vatapi and Indra.
Yes.
So, usually Vatapi had this trick that, he would come back to life after being eaten, and in this way he would kill the person who ate him. But when he had to, when I think it was Agastya. I'm not.
Yeah, I've also heard Agastya only.
It was Agastya. So, then I guess he was perfectly conscious of everything. So, he said, Vatapi, be digested. Vatapi, I digested him. It's gone. So, Vatapi was no ordinary person. What to speak of ordinary food that is just not exactly clean or, uh, perfectly pure or very sattvic, whatever. Of course, we should keep a little bit humble if possible. So we shouldn't rely too much on our own power of purification. So we should try to take food that is as pure as possible. So if we have a choice, even if we have to eat outside, for example, it is better to choose like factory packed food, because usually in factories they have less contact with humans. The food is done by machines, so there is less contact with the energy, personal energy of the individual human being. And there must be some hygienic standards. Otherwise, usually the government is going to close the factory. When you go in a restaurant, it's different. Because first of all, the rules of hygiene are very, what to say, variable. It's not a streamlined process. So there's many more factors can come and disrupt the system, the situation. In a factory, the process is automatic, mostly automatic, so there are not so many variables. But the machine, you put the thing, the ingredients on one end, and the stuff, the food comes out at the other end. In a restaurant, so many things can happen between the ingredient and the moment when you're actually eating the food. So there can be animals coming into the picture. There can be, the person maybe having bad, bad mood or anything. But also, maybe he can sneeze into the food. How you know? In fact, there are people who are actually, disgruntled employees that actually spit into the food, deliberately, or do even worse things. We can see from time to time. So what guarantee do we have? We don't have any guarantee. But if we buy, if we choose industrially packed food, not artificial food, it doesn't have to be many additives. Like, for example, if you buy packed crackers, they don't need to be full of chemicals, because it's a very, very simple food, uh, or when you usually there is a long tradition before the food industry developed. There was this tradition of the tiffin, especially in Mumbai. They are famous. There is an
Yes.
incredible organization of that brings the tiffin to the people in the offices. And they're incredible. They're doing such a extraordinary job. Or otherwise, you can carry your own tiffin, your own box, whatever, And for the food that you eat outside, you can eat in whatever type of food is more suitable. Like I don't know, instead of having rice and dal, you can get some samosa or something like that. You know, and that you'll find. For example, I know that several big companies in India are packing samosas, kachoris, and stuff like that. They may not be the best, nutritional choice, but what's the difference? It's not so much difference. You can carry some fruits. You can carry some, little packet of dahi. You know. Otherwise, one thing that I found that in India is very, quite safe is the South Indian dosa, because it's actually doesn't require much work, much contact, human contact, and it's cooked quickly and served immediately. So there is less chance of extra factors. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So especially if you have your own chutney jar, you can bring from home. You can just get some dosa,
Yeah.
and it's a least dangerous and complicated thing. Or otherwise, they're also making similarly. They're making pakoras. Pakora is a very popular street food because it's pretty clean. Frying food actually neutralizes much of the problem, because the high temperature is like a fire, it's purifying. You understand?
Yes.
So starting with the choice of, by choosing the type of food that you have, you can purchase outside. These type of foods are, snacks are the best. Then when you have acquired the food, when you pay for it, it is ritually getting an extra purification. The first step of purification is when you pay for it, then the karma of that food stays with the person who made the food. So it's a kind, already you're purifying it. Then the second step of purification is when you do the ritualistic part, which is, offering the food that becomes prasad. Now, in the offering the food, there is a this is a very big subject, because the food offering can be made in many different levels, and with different types of rituals. Like you have seen when Krishna in third chapter of Gita is speaking about the different types of yagya. Okay, and also we have lots of prayers. For example, Adi Shankar was giving very good explanations about that. That whatever we do, we can offer every action we make into the fire of the devotion and meditation to God. So, when you eat, it's you don't need to do a lot of complicated rituals. First of all, if already your life is dedicated to yajna, you don't even need to do any ritual because that is yajna shishta. So yajna shishta sina santo. Muchate papakli bishaya. So yajna shishta is what remains at the end of the yajna. So the yajna is your service, is your work, your swadharma. It could be dharma in many different, levels. It can be bhakti yoga, can be jnana yoga, can be karma yoga, but that is always a yajna, because it's very well explaining it. So we can go from the very simple to the very complicated. If you like the ritualistic, you can go and eat food in a temple, because almost all temples are organized to distribute prasad, because that is something that must be done. When temples are not doing that, Krishna in Gita, you're going to see, I think in the chapter 18, different types of faith. When Krishna explains to Arjuna that the type of ritual that is without the distribution of food is not valid. So every temple should have an arrangement to distribute prasad after the puja. I know ISKCON has a lot of restaurants and prasada arrangements. The temple of Jagannath in Puri has the biggest prasada, Mahaprasad arrangement, on the planet, because it has about 2,000 cooks cooking, doing shifts of 2,000 people at the same time. It can feed millions of people. So going to a temple to take food, to take prasad, is definitely the best. If you cannot do that, you can get some food, some easy food, fruits, like Krishna said, patram pushpam phalam toyam yame bhaktya prayach. You take a leaf, a fruit, a flower, some water, and you offer it to Krishna, to Mahadev, whatever Ishtadeva, Ishtadevata is your meditation. You offer the simple, pure vegetarian food to God. You can do it with full arati, sadasa upachara. You can do with panchapachara. You can do with just offering the food. And you can do mental even without doing any ritual. A simple way that I've seen in Orthodox Hindu Karmakanda tradition is to call the 5 pranas, to offer the food to the 5 pranas. So before you actually start eating, you perform the mudras of the 5 pranas over the food, and you recite the mantras, Om Pranaya Swaha, and so on. And that is the most basic ritualistic food offering. But it depends on your situation, because sometimes you have to adapt to the particular time, place, and circumstance. Like, for example, if you have to, you're working, you're traveling, and you have to stop at some place to eat because, you don't have any other option. You just stop at the place. When the food comes, in front of you, you just offer pranam to God in the form of food, because God is the food as well. God is everything. So you offer your pranam and you offer the food to God, and then you just eat. Just mentally it's sufficient. Yes.
Yeah, mostly during travel only these situation arises, and
Yeah, I know.
what to
I've
do.
been traveling a lot in India for many years. That's why I was suggesting, for example, dosa, pakora, samosa,
Pakoda
this.
and samosa also you are not sure about onion and garlic. They
No, listen. Onion and garlic are vegetarian food. Okay. Now, there is some confusion because in India, sometimes they're described as non-veg. But that is not exactly true. They're not sattvic, but they're vegetarian because they're vegetable, they're plants. You understand? They're not sattvic. I grant that. It's not good for people who want to engage in yoga because they are more more rajasic and tamasic. So the influence is not very good, but it's not like eating non-veg food. And even sometimes even in as a medicine, for example, garlic is very effective for the immune system. It's actually a natural antibiotic. So if you take it as a medicine, it doesn't have the same effect on your consciousness as if you are taking it because you like it. You understand? So it's the same like in Ayurveda. I don't remember exactly what the name is. I think it's Arista. It's a preparation that is it's a tonic for digestion, and usually it's made with grapes, so it's practically wine. It's about 6 to 8% alcohol, which is the same alcohol content of wine. But I have seen lots of people, devotees and everyone, taking this tonic with some water, as a medicine. All the medicinal tinctures. You know what is a tincture?
which is applied on wounds, I think, right?
The tincture is an alcoholic extract. You can apply on wounds, you can take with water, you drink it. A tincture is an alcoholic extract of some medicinal plant. You see, you cannot say that you are, drinking for pleasure, so you are actually getting intoxicated for the purpose of, getting high. You cannot get drunk like that. But of course, there is a space that must be reasonable. I remember, for example, in the early days, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada found one of the early disciples that he was drinking some tea. So because he was not supposed to drink tea, that the devotee was very embarrassed. Prabhupada said, okay, if you take it as a medicine, it's okay. So again, we come back to the original point. Depends on your spiritual consciousness, on your consciousness. If your fire, the fire of your consciousness, is hot enough, strong enough, can burn anything. So, there is a difference between some occasional bit of, garlic or onion in your samosa, if you don't know, you know, and the huge quantities of onion and garlic that some people actually put in their food because they like that. You understand? So it's, we need to find a balance. What is suitable for our individual situation and circumstance.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, the second part is answered. First part, how in the first place somebody who's cooking can pass on his consciousness? Uh,
Oh, okay. The technical part.
yes, yes.
Did you have you heard about the concept of aura?
I've heard, but yeah, better if you also explain.
Okay, okay. Now you know prana.
Yes.
Okay, prana is more famous. So when we do pranayama, it's not just the air. It's the energy that circulates in the air. So the prana is the life energy that circulates in our body, but not only in our physical body. The Upanishads explain the five koshas, pancha koshas, the five sheets or layers. So the innermost core is Anandamaya kosha, which is the Atman. It's the energy, the body of the Atman. Then the Anandamaya kosha, then we have the Jnanamaya kosha, then we have the Manomaya kosha, then we have the Pranamaya kosha, then we have the Annamaya kosha. The Annamaya kosha is a physical body that we build from food, Anna. Okay, so what is the all these other subtle bodies like the Jnanamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha are subtle bodies. Okay, they compose the subtle body, which Vijnana is intelligence. It's a body made of intelligence. We can say it's a subconscious, superconscious. Then we have the Manomaya kosha, which is the conscious mind, the extent of our thinking processes, thinking, remembering, deciding, all this mental activity that happens at the conscious level. Then the Pranamaya kosha is a body of prana. And the body of prana extends beyond the Annamaya kosha, beyond the physical body, in what is called in aura. It's like the energy emanating, biomagnetic energy. Okay, that is generated from the Atman, and it is also absorbed from the environment through the air, through the water, through the food, through the cosmic radiation and everything. All these carry prana. Now, the prana is, is charged with positive qualities, but can also be charged with negative qualities. The prana carries the energy. So it's like the water. The water can be clean and can be dirty. The water in its original pure form is clean and very healthy. But when it goes through some dirty place, it becomes dirty and contaminated, and it can even become toxic. So when people work in, doing pranotherapy, the therapist needs to know how to manage the prana. Usually, the pranotherapist uses two hands. The left hand is absorbing the dirty prana from the body of the patient, and the right hand is channeling the healthy, pure prana into the body of the patient. So it's like a circuit. And you need to, if you are a pranotherapist, you need to clean your hands. You need to wash off the bad prana. You need to shake it off, wash it off, because it gets stuck. Now, in I think about 50 years ago, one guy in Russia invented one camera that is still called the Kirlian camera, from the Kirlian effect. So this Kirlian guy, I don't know how, but he invented this camera by which he was able to take pictures of the prana. Because the prana is a biomagnetic energy, it's a magnetic energy. So, it is measurable, with instruments. So he made a series of very famous photos. For example, he took the photo of two leaves. One was a fresh leaf and one was a dry leaf. And you could see that the same leaf, when it was fresh, had this aura around it, like light, Then gradually, while it was drying, this aura became weaker and weaker until at the end, when the leaf was dry, it has completely disappeared. So we have chakras in our body. Chakras are like electric plugs, for prana. Through the chakra, all these bodies are aligned, from the Anandamaya Kosha to the Annamaya Kosha. So the chakra goes through all these bodies. So it's a very long connection. It's a connection that crosses the different dimension of our bodies, our mental bodies. So we can connect through the chakras. And there are 7 main chakras in the human being, but then there are 22 minor chakras. And we have specifically 2 of these, probably the biggest, of these minor chakras are in the hands and in the feet. So there are smaller chakras in the palm of our hand. And this is how the pranotherapy works. Because through the chakra in the hand, we can receive and give prana. We can transmit the prana. In the feet also, but the feet, usually you're not using your feet when you cook. Sometimes people do, but that's not good. Anyway, so when a cook is touching the food, his prana goes into the food. Apart from the hygienic considerations, even if the kitchen is totally hygienic and he washed his hands and he's not sneezing into the food and there are no cockroaches running around on the table and whatever, but still the prana from the hands of the people who touch the food is being transmitted into the food. it's a kind of irradiation. It's like a radiation. It's a biomagnetic effect. Is that clearer?
Yes.
Okay. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So for this reason, for example, I've been, for many years, I was cooking for the deities in the temple, in the deities' kitchen. So the person who cooks in the deities' kitchen has to follow very strict rules, extremely strict. First of all, he must be an initiated devotee. So there must be some level of consciousness there. So initiated devotee knows what he's doing, or the Brahmana. In the system, in the temples, when it's a Brahmana who cooks, they cook. Nobody else can touch the fire. A Shudra cannot touch the fire. Shudras can help by cutting the vegetables and everything, but only if a person has the fire can be touched only by a person who has a sufficiently developed consciousness, because the fire is also interacting with the biomagnetic energy. This is why some people are good cooks and some people are bad cooks. Because the same kitchen, the same gas, the same pots, the same stove, the same everything. Yet you get very different results in cooking. Because the fire interacts with the biomagnetic energy. Then another very strict rule that when you cook, you cannot touch your body, any part of your body. You cannot touch the nose, you cannot scratch yourself, you cannot touch your hair, you cannot touch any part, you just touch the food. You don't touch your body. And before that, going into the kitchen, you have to take a full bath and wear fresh clothes. You cannot bring your shoes inside the kitchen. So either you have a special chapel for the kitchen or you stay without chapel. Thank you very much. And it's very important. If you cannot eat, you cannot drink inside the kitchen. While you're preparing food, you cannot eat, you cannot drink. You cannot touch your body, you cannot touch your clothes, you cannot touch anything by the body. And while you're cooking, your mind has to meditate. You have to mentally chant the mantra, you have to do something, you have to keep your consciousness in the proper place. When you when you go and see if these rules are followed in any restaurant, they're not. In the measure in which these rules are followed in a restaurant, then you can know that the food is of better quality. But it's very difficult because it's a very strict, the rules are, if you want to do things properly, they're demanding. I remember when I was cooking for the deities in the temple, especially during the festival time. So because the festival times, everybody has other things to do. So I was usually starting to cook. I entered the kitchen to start to cook at 4 a.m. and I get out at 10 p.m.
Oh.
So, then I got some training there. So one time my personal record was 72 hours. You know, and everyone was shocked because anyway. So in all this time,
So 72
you
hours continuously or in a, how it?
continuously,
Oh, so you did not sleep?
yeah.
Oh, very.
I was doing very weird stuff when I was young. Very weird. I let me tell you. Anyway. So you don't sleep, you don't go to the bathroom, you don't eat. You can drink, but you cannot touch the water. You have to go outside the kitchen to drink, and you cannot touch the glass, the cup to your mouth. You have seen, in India it's quite common that when you drink, you're drinking, for example, from the bottle like that. You don't put
We
your
don't touch
mouth.
our mouth usually.
Exactly. Then you can drink. So the only thing I was doing is sometimes I was drinking a little bit, but I would go outside, and if I needed to go to the bathroom, I had to go and take a shower, change, immediately come back
Uh-huh.
because I had to finish. I had to finish the work.
Uh-huh.
But that usually I was not doing every time, but I was doing the full day because the first food offering is the Mangal Bhog. The Mangal Arti starts at 4:30, so 4:15 you have to be ready with the offering. Usually it's only milk sweet and the hot milk.
Uh-huh.
So you just need to be there about 2-3 minutes before the offering goes in. So 4:15, let's say 4:10, 10 minutes after 4. So just the time to heat the milk and put the stuff onto the plate. It takes less than 4 minutes. But then you have to start with the other offering. So in the standard was 6 offerings a day. The first one 4:15, the second one 7, the third one 8. Then we have noon. Then we have more than 6. Then we have 4 o'clock, 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m. And then we have 6 p.m. And then we have 9 p.m. No, 8 p.m. Then we have 9:30, which is the last offering. It's 8 offerings a day.
Okay.
And you see, there's not so much, time to lose, because especially the noon offering, the Raj Bhog, when I was cooking for the deities, it was, let me think how many items it was. I think it was about 20 items. So from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, you have to keep working. Uh, Not so much quantity, because just for the deities, when I was cooking for Jagannath, so it was 5 plates. It was the 3 main deities, Jagannath, Subhadra, Balabhadra, and then it was Gauranitai. So it was 5 plates.
Okay.
But 5 plates, 20 items. So it was like, Then I liked it very much. I became very expert, so that I started teaching people how, vegetarian cooking courses. I started writing vegetarian booklets, so
Mhm.
it came out, it was a blessing. But the rules were very, Also very strict. Now you cannot expect this type of rules from roadside restaurants. You know, but as I said, if you go for, pakora is quite safe. Pakora and sada dosa. If you take sada dosa with dahi, it's perfect.
Yeah. And as you suggested to carry chutney and then you take, that is, I feel, the best option.
Oh, Arunji, welcome. Yeah, I was suggesting to bring some, a jar of chutney, so you don't have to depend on the shop.
Yes.
You understand? So that's, I think that's easy.
Yes.
Because chutney stays. Dahi is always good because it's a microbial culture that kills all other microbes. So that's okay. Fellow Jitser, Arunji, welcome. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Welcome. We
Yeah.
already started a little
Namaste.
bit earlier. No problem. I am happy to see you. Uh, Everything okay?
Okay, okay. Namaste.
Namaste, Jai Jagannath.
Jai.
Okay, now I was discussing before about the food. There was one question about the food. Now, if you want to ask some other question, anyone?
Not right now. I will ask after some time. Let me listen what you are discussing. Then I will.
Ah, okay. Generally, we were discussing already for some time because Sudeep came earlier. So we were discussing about the food, how to make sure that the food we eat is as pure as possible. So, especially because sometimes when traveling, we need to eat food from outside. So actually, traditionally, uh, Orthodox Hindus, especially Brahmanas, are not supposed to eat food from outside. Uh, that's why most restaurants in India usually have a low standard because they consider that people who are concerned about purity, they just don't go to restaurants. It's simple, you know. They usually lots of people, especially Orthodox Hindus, carry their own tiffin. Like when you see people traveling in trains, they always have a lot of food. So whatever type of food, sometimes paratha, sometimes samosa, sometimes even rice and dal, even if it's not so hot anymore because traveling. I know that in North West India, especially, they eat a lot of papas and achar when they travel, especially. So, well, achar is also something that you can carry quite easily, and it stays very well, doesn't spoil. And papas also they stay relatively fresh for a longer time. Sometimes rotis can be decent, you know. But they require more manipulation than, say, dosa. Dosa and pakora usually are the best. Now, I know in Mumbai they have this pav bhaji, which is usually quite decent. because the fire, they cook the vegetables on quite a high fire, so it's about, rather hygienic. And they use factory bread. So as we said, the system is quite automatic. So it's we have better chances at hygiene. And then what else? Pambaji, panipuri. But panipuri is better not, because this sauce is you never really know how you can manage, because it can become contaminated easily. Otherwise, just remind me, because I've not been I've not been traveling in India for a long time now. What else is there? Pizza Hut. Well, this plain pizza, like margherita pizza, is sattvic enough, because it's just it's like a roti made with maida, with some tomato sauce and some fresh cheese. So it's really quite sattvic, in fact. The problem is that in the same place, in the same restaurants, they also make non-veg. So they, with the same hands and the same table and everything, they put other stuff like chicken, stuff. So it's not exactly very good. You can find some place where they make this type of stuff, like industrial pizza, but without the non-veg, that would be better. Fish is not a good idea. I know in Puri, lots of people eat fish. In fact, in Puri, according to the polls, there are less than 5% vegetarian people. Most people, and the 5%, that includes all the matas and people in the mats, and especially pujaris in the Jagannath temple, Shiv Mandir. In fact, lots of pujaris in the Shiv Mandir are not exactly vegetarian. But still, they have this rule, they're still following the rule that they will never eat non-veg on the day when they're supposed to do the puja. And after they eat non-veg, they have to take a full bath and change their sacred thread, upavita, paita. Because otherwise it's not good. So some standard is still there. But lots of people are non-veg. So, it depends. It depends. Because we know, especially in ISKCON, they're very strict, which is good. It's a good training. It's a very good training. But personally, I've seen that in the general population in India, it's difficult to find people who are really strict. If you, for example, probably Marwari, especially in northwest India, you may find some Marwari restaurants. Have you tried, Sudeep?
Which one?
Marwari.
Isn't that Bati and all?
Yes. Then I have the thali and everything.
Yeah.
But Marwari restaurants are famous for being pure veg and
Yes.
very well hygienic.
I used to eat when I was unmarried at nearby.
Exactly. Okay, Arunji, tell.
I have something to say.
Please.
I'm okay. Uh, I was posted in Ahmedabad, as you know, western part.
Ha, 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 ha,
About 17 years I was there. That
ha.
region, that Ahmedabad, Gujarat region, is full of Marwadis and Gujaratis.
Exactly, exactly.
Yes. So my and as you know, I am non-vegetarian. We we take foods, non-veg foods.
Okay.
Till now also. That time, we being people from West Bengal, we in airport colony we did not have any problem because that is government quarters. But when I had to leave quarters due transfer and all, so I had to stay in the Marwari colonies because most of them are Marwaris.
Yeah,
I have seen them. I have seen them. They are purely vegetarian food. But
yeah.
in this respect, I have something to say. Can I say that?
Please, 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 we know.
I I
I
do not
think
have
I know what you want to say, but go ahead.
I do not have any knowledge about this food practice. For that, please excuse me. But I have seen those people who are on vegetarian food only. Their nature is very bad in all respect. I am sorry to say. I,
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say I'm not mixing it with any religion and this thing, but
yeah,
most of them are corrupt, whether in business, whether in other practices.
yeah,
Because I was staying with them in that
yeah,
society for a period of continuous 4 years. And my next
yeah,
door neighbor was a full-fledged Marwari. One day, they tried to keep their belongings, means suitcases, filled with cases at my residence. I stopped them. That what? No, no, there will be income tax rate. I told them then why will keep your name?
okay, yeah,
Nothing will happen. And there are other things also that I do not want to
it's
say here.
okay, it's okay.
Please try to
Listen,
understand all
Arunji,
types of
I know,
all
yeah,
types of bad practices, as much as bad you can imagine, they are having. But I am not equal. I will not argue whether veg or non-veg. I just shared, since you asked about Marwaris, you quoted about Marwaris, so that was my personal.
I know.
Oh,
Listen,
that's all.
Marwaris,
That's
I
all.
had, oh, my first student when I was in India was one Marwari boy, one Yogesh Agarwal. Also, and he was not a very good person, so he ended up getting a very bad karma. Also, Marwaris are not very, what to say, um, seen very favorably in Puri because the Marathi Empire was not very gentle with Orissa. The Marathi uh, you know conquerors actually were squeezing the people and the temple, and they were quite heavy on that. Now, the fact that I remember there were a couple of very small Marwari restaurants on Grand Road in Puri. I think now they're gone because nobody's interested in pure veg in Puri anymore, except for they have this big competitor just in front of where the Marwari restaurants were. The king of Puri opened his own restaurant. So, of course, that is very difficult competition to fight back. But, the general idea is that it is in Kali Yuga, especially, when people are, putting extra effort in some religious practice, and they want to follow strictly very, demanding rules, there is a danger of developing more ego, abhiman, ahankar. So, the point is not they develop ego because they, engage strictly in religious or spiritual activities. The ego comes from the idea that they are better than other people, irrespective. So this is called arrogance. And this is why, the good religious leaders and teachers, they teach whenever you do some regular. Okay, so what I was saying is that the actual good teachers in Karma Kanda tradition, they recommend that whenever we do some religious ritual, traditional religious rituals, we keep saying idam namama or Krishna arpanamastu. Idam namama means that we have to keep our ego down. We shouldn't allow our ego to become, inflated by the fact that we are following the rituals so well. We are following the rules so well, because that's worse than not following the rules well. So the point is that we should be able to follow the rules very well, strictly in the best possible way. But like Krishna is saying in Gita, without expecting any result for ourselves. Like the famous verse, karmani eva adhikaraste, ma phalesu kadachana, means we have the adhikar to perform our duties, but we should not be attached or identified with the result. But, this is a human tendency. When we do something that we consider it's a job well done, there is always a danger of thinking, oh, I'm so good. I did such a good job. Look at me. Yay, I'm better. I'm the best. And that's why people, become attached to titles. Like we see in the tradition in Hinduism, like for example, we have titles like Vajpayee, Trivedi, Dvivedi, Chaturvedi, or Chakravarti, or these are all titles that are applied to excellence in performing religious rituals. So if we can perform religious rituals and follow the system, like this sadachara, because this being vegetarian is not a ritual in itself, but is a part of the ritual as sadachara, means good behavior, good life habits. We need to follow and at the same time remain humble. Obviously, these people didn't remain humble because they thought they were more clever than others, and so they could take advantage, they could do bad things, and still be better than the others. And that's why, the Maratha Empire, the Marwaris became, aggressive, and they wanted to conquer and exploit, which is not the Vedic way. So it doesn't matter You know, okay, you're good. Like for example, many people object in the West. I heard so many times because I've been preaching vegetarianism since 1970. So I've been activist, vegetarian, you know, preacher, teacher for quite a few years. So, you know, lots of people say, oh, but Hitler was also vegetarian. You know, okay. It's not that, like, let's say, for example, you know, a criminal likes to drink lemon juice or whatever, you know, orange juice, whatever. We cannot say that drinking lemon juice or orange juice is bad because a criminal is drinking it. So the best thing would be, you know, not being a criminal and, you know, do good things that even criminals sometimes do, but not being a criminal. Does this answer the question, Arunji?
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Thank you, thank you. Now, one funny thing is that, you know, I heard that, especially Marwaris, because sometimes they get really fastidious about the onion and garlic. You know, so if you go to a Marwari restaurant, you're sure you're not going to get onion and garlic. But, you know, they're quite fastidious, but that doesn't always correspond with the actual level of consciousness. So sometimes they tie the garlic into a piece of cloth, they put it in the food, and then they take it out. So they're not eating garlic.
Mhm, mhm.
So, you know, like, okay, yeah, we heard that before. You know, so it's they're being you know, little clever. They're trying to be clever. That is not truthfulness. You know, we know that Satyam is the most fundamental principle of Dharma. So who are we trying to cheat? You know, you cannot cheat the Paramatma. We cannot cheat ourselves. We can try, but we cannot succeed. Yeah. Um, so that's the idea. Any other question? We want to elaborate more, or we want to start some other issue? Please, Ranjit.
I I I do wish to know about that day you told me that Isara, which I knew as that Nirakar Nirguna Brahma plus I studied in one text that Nirguna Brahma plus Maya Upahita Chaitanya Maya Upahita Chaitanya is Isara. Yeah, you told me Mataji that not exactly, but the discussion was not there. It was put for some future. So if you wish, I am. Uh,
Okay. So let's present it in terms that everybody can understand. So the Ishvara is please say it again. Say it again. So I also remember.
Maya once some not only in one text in some other lectures also. I follow Swami Sarvapriyananda in YouTube
Okay.
from Ramakrishna Paramahansa lineage.
No,
Uh,
but let's stick to the core of the question because
I guess
otherwise
yes. The
let's yeah.
Maya Upahita Chaitanya means that Nirguna Brahma associated with Maya becomes
Yes,
Ishvara.
yes,
Then
yes.
Ishvara. So then
Okay.
comes Hiranyagarbha. Then comes the gross Virat.
Yes, yes.
In this,
Okay. Now I think that here the main point is to distinguish, to understand what's the meaning of Maya. Okay. Maya means illusion. But we know that Maya can be either Mahamaya or Yogamaya. It's always the same Maya, but its effects are different. Maya Uparita means covered by Maya, but we have a different type of covering, a different type of effect, whether we are talking about the Anuatma or the Param Atma. Maya is always energy, always a power, but the Anuatma is very easily overwhelmed by Maya, while Bhagavan, Paramatma, controls Maya. Now, we have one verse in Gita especially that is very interesting. That is saying, Daivi hi esha gunamai mama maya duratyaya. This Maya that is belongs to God. Okay, Mama Maya. Duratyaya is very difficult to overcome. It's Daivi, it's divine. And it is Gunamai, made of the gunas. So Krishna in this verse speaks about Mahamaya, because the Yoga Maya is beyond the gunas, it's nirguna, as you correctly said before. So, in fact, if we go deep enough, we'll find that all Maya is actually nirguna, because it's the original form of Maya. It's like the original form of Purusha. It's the Brahman. Brahman is not complicated, is not affected by the gunas. So the original Shakti is not affected by the gunas. The original Shakti manifests the Triguna, the material guna, in the process of the creation of the universe, material universe. Now, we can also apply this verse, this Triguna, Daivihi and Shagunamai. Also, the spiritual Maya, the Yoga Maya, also has three main qualities. While these three qualities, when they become material, they become sattva, rajas, tamas. In their original form, the spiritual form, they are ananda and chit and sat. Ananda corresponds to sattva, chit corresponds to rajas, and sat corresponds to tamas. Now, on the spiritual level of Yoga Maya, Ananda is the perfect happiness, the consciousness that is correspond to sattva, which is the most important thing, the most healthy, the goodness. Ananda is the best. Chit is, let's say, mirrored in the material world by rajas, because chit, or knowledge or consciousness, is the principle of action. So consciousness inspires action, and in the case of Yoga Maya, inspires devotional service. Now, if you know, for example, in the tradition, in Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, you have probably heard about the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das is reporting also something that definitely he didn't invent, because it's coming from longer, tradition, more ancient tradition. So there are three mantra prayers to the Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath. Are you familiar with this, Arunji?
No, I'm not familiar with this, but I'm listening carefully. I will,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
will learn.
because I can give you mostly the bhakti approach, the
Oh,
Bhagavad Gita bhakti approach. I don't know about the commentaries of Vijnananda, other people, but I can give you the what I know. So
okay.
um, the in bhakti, these three forms of Krishna, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath, are the three stages of the development of the Anandamaya quotient, the development of the Anuatma. So Madan Mohan is the beginning of the relationship with Bhagavan, which means attraction. It can be connected with Sat and on the material level on Tamas, because when someone is in Tamas, you're just contemplating, you're not doing anything, just think, imagining, dreaming, concentrating things. Oh yeah, well, you're passive. This is Shantaras. Now, then we have Govinda when we actually approach the form of Krishna that is described as Govinda. We engage our senses. One of the translations or the explanations of the name Govinda that is given by the Gaudiya Vaishnava is Govinda means Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. It means that we engage the senses, in the service of Rishikesh, the Lord of the senses. So, Rishikesha, Rishikena, Savanam. This is the relationship we have with Govinda, and this is based on chit or consciousness, because we decide our consciousness is to serve. So, to do something, to offer some service, to perform some activities, devotional activities, and this on the material level is supported by Rajguna. Okay, then we have the completion, the fulfillment of the action, which is the union, the satisfaction of Krishna in the form of Gopinath, which is the actual reciprocation that Krishna is Anand, Satchitananda Vigraha. So we actually attain Anand. And Anand is the corresponding and supported by the guna of Sattva. Do you see the connection? It's 4 levels connection. So we have Mahamaya is on the material level, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, but it's still Daivi. Daivi hiya Sagunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. So we can, through the engagement in the gunas, we actually engage the material gunas into devotional service with the proper consciousness. Like, for example, engaging the sattva is very easy to understand, because we engage the sattva by choosing the proper food, by keeping clean, by doing all the sattva things that we all know well. Then we have to maintain the level of sattva by a conscious effort of rajas. We want to do it. We have the determination and the strength and the effort. We have to move. We have to be a bit restless in order to actually perform our sattvic duty, because rajas is a creation, is the manifestation. Sattva is the idea, the subtle transcendental level. But we need to work to put it in practice, to create the material manifestation of the ideal. Okay, sattva is the ideal. Rajas is the creation of the ideal. We put the ideal into practice in the material world, in the material level. This is the job of Brahma, the creator. Then tamas can also be engaged in the devotional service and in the personal development, and you call it bhakti, yoga, tantra, whatever you want to call it, because we also need to maintain the a certain amount of tamas. For example, we need to go to sleep. Okay, so to recharge our energy so that rajas can support sattva, we need to go to sleep, switch off the light, stay in the dark, and in the dark, we just let the body go into tamas, because that's required. That's a natural, the best way to engage the guna of tamas. And this helps to maintain our existence, sat. So our body can remain and continue to exist if we take care of it, and we also use some tamas in a positive way. Still, through all this process, we need to remain conscious of our true nature and identity. So, like Krishna says in Gita, whenever the yogi is opening or closing the eyes, sleeping, drinking, eating, walking, or whatever, the yogi knows that only the senses are engaged in the objects of the senses. Rishikesha, Rishikena, Sevanam, Bhakti, Richata. Is this clear?
Yes, thank you very much. It is clear. So in all activities, in life, 24 hours.
Yes.
If I remain true to me and true to the society, true to the mankind, and do all that.
We keep in sattva guna.
Yes.
By engaging rajas guna mostly, and in some measure also tamas guna, we engage it with the proper consciousness, with
Yes.
wisdom and knowledge and the proper intelligence.
Yes.
We can actually we are actually situated in yoga. Now,
Yes.
if we, as Anuatma, if we can do it, just imagine how God does it.
Okay.
Much better.
Yeah.
So God is never covered by Maya.
Yes.
But he engaged the Maya. So we know that Vishnu manifests in the spiritual world through Yoga Maya.
Yes.
And Vishnu manifests in the material world as avatar through Mahamaya.
Yeah.
But still, it's the same Yoga Maya, because when God is manifest as avatar, this Maya that he's using is Yoga Maya. It only appears to be Mahamaya to us.
Yes.
But in fact, Krishna is never covered. God is never covered by Vishnu is never covered by Maya. In fact, you see in the second chapter of the Gita, Krishna is saying very clearly, I'm never covered. Also in other parts of Gita, Krishna repeats that Janma karma chame divyam. Means that the birth and the activities of the avatar are divine, are not covered by illusion, but are using illusion for the purpose of the lila. This cannot be applied to the conditioned soul, because by definition, the conditioned soul is covered by Maya. The conditioned soul, by definition, is conditioned. He is not the master of Maya. He is not controlling Maya. He is controlled because he is tiny. It's infinitesimal. It's Anu. So we have, this is the difference between Anu-Atma and Paramatma. Anu-Atma is like a spark. So very easily covered by darkness. Paramatma appears to be covered by darkness, but is actually not. It's like Paramatma is in the heart of every being and every atom. So we cannot see Paramatma because he appears to be covered by the body of the living being, of the atom and everything, but he's not confused. We become confused as conditioned souls because we are very small. And our power is only a small fraction of the total power. Like Shakti, why we say power? Because Shakti literally means power. Maya is Shakti. So when we speak of Shakti, we have all the applications, all the meanings of the word power. So without Shakti, God himself is powerless. Because if Shakti is power, without Shakti means without power. So we cannot separate it. But the Upanishads are telling us, Parasha Shakti Vividhaiva Shriyate. Swabhaviki. From his own existence, the Supreme is manifesting many different forms of Shakti. So, Shakti is always one. Vividhaiva means that they appear as many, but again, it's just like Vishnu that Ekabahusyat. Originally, it is one. Bhagavan is the origin of the Brahman. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Bhagavan is the foundation, the origin, the very existence, original existence of Brahman. But is not manifested. We cannot perceive Bhagavan without Yogamaya. It's impossible. Because without Yogamaya, Bhagavan is not Bhagavan. It's not manifested. Is that understandable?
Yes, that is clear.
Okay.
But
So, please.
for a very short duration, can I say something? That
Please.
if,
Yes, of
if
course.
if I think Brahman as a field, one field of
Yeah,
consciousness,
unified field. Yeah, of physics.
or one field of energy or whatever. There, this that is Paramatman, and this Anuatman, it is also if I consider this Anuatman as a vibrating field, means having some frequency. If the
Yeah.
frequency is in tune with that, then it is good. Or if it is not tuned, it is a kind of noise. So
Yes, yes, yes.
being this Anuatman is a if it is a one element in the infinite set as a single entity as a Anuatman, if this single element entity which has got every intelligence and everything consciousness and everything, if it tunes itself in the correct uh, so
Okay,
the
okay, okay. Let me stop you 1 minute here,
oh, sure, sure.
because it's not that the Anuatman has to tune to something outside. The Brahman is not separate from the Atman. So the Anuatman just has to focus on its own real nature,
Yes,
because
yes,
the nature of Atman is the same like Brahman.
yes,
So tuning just means being conscious of what we actually are.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
then I thought we
The-
needed to clarify that because it was wrong.
that's what I wanted to convey. What you said
Okay.
exactly that. Okay, okay.
Yeah, it is a fact that the Anuatma, as Krishna explains very well in the beginning of Gita, there are several verses talking about the Atman, the Kshetragya. So the Atman is naturally perfect, you know, intrinsically perfect. It's to say avikar means immutable, without transformation, without change, unchangeable, eternal, totally transcendental, perfect. But because this is a nature, this is a quality, not the quantity.
Yes,
Because the Atma is only a small particle of Atman, then it can fall, it can be covered and overwhelmed by Maya. So it loses the consciousness of his actual nature.
yes, yes. Uh,
Okay.
last week you told me to understand this way that the moment Anuatman thinks stops thinking as I-ness,
Yeah.
ego or ahankar.
Ahankara.
the
Ahankara.
moment
Yeah.
and the moment one thinks that vanishes, that thinking that I am this, that, or separate, or whatever is the moment that thinking vanishes, and that
Exactly, exactly. So
that
the covering of Maya, the material Maya, it dissipates and transforms into the covering of Yoga Maya. It's the same, it's still the same Maya, but it changes color, it changes uh, density. It's like it changes effect. It's like electricity. Electricity can be cold and can be heat. If you are channeling electricity in a water heater, it will be hot. If you channel electricity into a freezer, it will be cold. Shall we say that the electricity is hot or cold? No, we cannot. We cannot, because electricity is beyond hot and cold. Electricity will always give some heat, but it can also produce cold, and it can operate a computer, a TV, a fan, an engine, a lift, a car, toothbrush. So many things that Shakti will do. It's always the same Shakti, but it's how the Shakti manifests according to our particular consciousness. And we know that the Purusha is consciousness, Rasa Vaisa. So the Prakriti, that is Shakti, Para Prakriti, Apara Prakriti, no difference. Tatastha Prakriti is no difference. It's all one Prakriti. The mother goddess is one. We cannot say there is the good mother goddess and the bad mother goddess. That's foolish. So when our Purusha DNA, spiritual DNA, is manifested in different capacities, our Prakriti DNA, our Shakti, responds to it. So we can make a gross comparison of these two components of our original nature of Atman, Brahman, as Purusha and Prakriti. We are all Purusha and Prakriti, each one of us. Because we get our Purusha DNA from Shaktiman, and we get our Prakriti DNA from Shakti. We are children of Shiva Shakti. So we get our Purusha nature from Shiva, and we get our Prakriti nature from Shakti. So inside ourselves, the Shakti responds to the simulation, the level of consciousness, the manifestation of the Purusha. Is that clear?
Clear.
Okay, yay. Good.
Jai Jagannath.
Yeah, in Jai Jagannath. Because, in fact, I realize that these are a little bit difficult things, because not many people usually examine these things. There are different level of understanding in Shastra, especially Bhagavad Gita is so beautiful because it has so many layers of meanings. Even one verse of Gita we can study our entire life, we'll still find something new.
Yes.
Because there are so many layers, it's incredible. And it's really, it is sufficient. Like Adi Shankar was saying, Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadita. Even if we just study a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, that's a success in life.
Yes.
So, thank you very much. I think we are reaching the time limit.
Yes.
So, I'll stop recording.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. So, stop.